What's up guys, I'm Jack with Jack Wagon Overlanding, and today we're giving you the first look at our latest project, a 2019 463A Mercedes G550. This truck has a handful of firsts for us, starting off on the front end with the first ever JWO Front Steel Bumper for the 463A chassis. This bumper has integrated winch option, and we actually chose to hide the winch electronics down behind the winch, and in doing so that leaves full functionality of your Distronic sensor. On this model, the Distronic, which is your adaptive cruise control feature, is actually inside the Mercedes logo in your grille. Had we left the control box on top, that might have been blocking that sensor, but it works. Also, you'll find the 6 little dots along the front bumper. Those are your Parktronic sensors, and these are telling you whenever you're getting close to an obstacle in a parking lot and etc. These remain in function. On the 463A chassis, as well as some of the latest 463 models, we know all about these corner coolers. On this model, it's no different. There's a corner cooler on both sides of this bumper. With that, we couldn't go quite as high and tight as we'd like, but we still were able to make this bumper the same external dimensions as the OEM bumper, all the way up until about the corner of the grille. So from here over, it's as tight fitting as the factory bumper. For those corner coolers, we added several slits across the front face of the bumper, as well as the lower diagonal pieces, to make sure we have good breathability all the way in. And on the sides, you can see that we were able to match the lines very nicely of the wheel well and into the fender flare. Heading back over to the middle, this client, in his state, it's required you have a front license plate. So we made a nice little flip-up option that allows him to use his winch whenever he needs it, and when he's done, he can close it right back down and stay road legal. Up on top of the bumper, we threw on our JWO Bullbar. This one has a few different bends, as well as some cut and weld sections, and it's mounted in 4 different places across the front bumper. In mounting it this way, we have good reinforcement from front impact as well as diagonal and side impact to make sure you're as protected as can be, because we all know that replacing headlight housings and grills is never a fun thing. On that bull bar, we took it a step further and did one of our favorites, a pair of Baja Designs LP9 Pro lights. The 9 comes from the 9 different LEDs that shine out to the front. It does also have lights that shoot out the side. These lights are capable of throwing a beam 200 degrees, so you get light down the road, up in the trees, and all the way to the sides whenever you're driving. Another nice feature about the lights is the orange backlighting feature. Those work as a nice daytime running light and just add a little extra flair to the truck. Everything packaged nicely. Now we can head over to the side. Another thing that packages nice is these Rock Slide Engineering electronic side steps. These do have a drop-down electronic step. Whenever you open the door, the step pops down. And I'll admit, whenever we were talking about putting these steps on this truck with just a little bit of lift, I wasn't sure if they were really going to be necessary. But a guy my size and all the other shorter people in the world, you'll find out quickly that this drop-down step hits right where you want it to hop in and out of this truck. Now you can easily get in and out. Another nice thing about those Rock Slide Engineering steps is they come with a kill switch. So if you are off-roading this truck, which this client does do, you can turn off the drop-down feature so they stay tucked anytime you open and close the door. Come in. Using those LP9 lights, as well as the lights on top of the roof, we're using a BantamX touchscreen unit. This sPod is going to allow you to operate all of your lights individually. And it's nice and out of the way for you. One thing we really like about these Rock Slide Engineering steps, you can see that drop down actually tucks back up into the step. In doing so, this still gives you good off-road ability of these steps. Some OEM-esque drop-down steps make it so that the drop-down is underneath the step. Whenever that drop down tucks away, it's still exposed for off-road use, but this one is tucked into the step so that the entire piece is off-road ready. Coming back to the back of the truck, We have another first. The first ever JWO rear steel bumper for the 463A chassis. Like on the front bumper, we are able to maintain the Parktronic functionality on the rear as well. We also put this other 3D plastic piece in here. And no, this isn't good branding or marketing. This is actually to maintain the blind spot assist functionality on your truck. Any G-Wagon owner who has a little triangle in their side mirrors has blind spot assist. And what that does is tells you whenever there's a car in your blind spot. Most aftermarket steel bumpers will cover up that blind spot sensor, and in doing so, makes it so the sensor is inoperable. By putting this 3D printed plastic piece, the sensor is able to read through the plastic and continue operating. We also added a couple 3D printed pieces to house the OEM license plate lights. And we threw on a little bit of grip tape to make sure that you've got that grit you need to get up to your ladder. This is the LeTech ladder that goes up to the LeTech roof rack. You may have already picked up on that in this video. Another LeTech feature we have is this LeTech spare wheel holder assembly. Nice thing about this spare wheel holder is that it relocates and redistributes the load of the spare tire onto the hinges of the rear door, as opposed to hanging the tire off the center of the trunk door. With a bigger tire, that creates more weight, and with this lever arm, over time, it can wear out the hinges. So by relocating the weight to the hinges, it makes sure the opening and closing the door is a breeze. Another nice feature with this LeTech assembly is that you get a nice little storage compartment. Here, you can hide miscellaneous gear and lock it away when you're not using it. Heading over to the other side of the truck, now we can tell you a little bit about this lift kit. This truck has the first ever JWO 2-inch lift kit for 463A and 465 chassis trucks. Unlike the 463 and also the 460 and 461 chassis, this truck came equipped with an independent front suspension as well as several electronic features in the suspension setup. With those electronics, we wanted to stay away from touching the shocks as many other companies have, but we wanted to make sure that we still gained off-road ability with this suspension setup. In the rear end, we added billet aluminum spring spacers to give us the 2-inch lift, and we also included billet aluminum shock extensions to make sure that we have the added down travel we need whenever we're off-roading. Heading over to the front end, unlike any of the other previous chassis, this model has a strut. Now a strut is the combination of a standalone shock and spring combined into one unit. Lifting with a strut is different from lifting a standalone spring and shock. With this situation, we chose to add a 2-inch block on top of the strut, and what that does is effectively move the operating suspension cycle down 2 inches. So you get 2 inches of added down travel, and you also stop the suspension going upwards 2 inches early to make sure that your larger tires aren't rubbing into your wheel well liner. We've seen in the past where only a spring was added. Adding springs is always nice, but on these models we found that it wasn't as necessary to change the feel of the ride because generally these handle much better on road than the older chassis does. Using this combinations of spacers and extensions, we get the added lift, we get the better down travel and articulation, and we get to maintain the better feel of this new chassis 463A G-Wagon. Lastly, I have to tell you guys, this obviously isn't our truck, and we can't thank the owner of this truck enough for giving us the opportunity to work on his truck and build this thing out the way we wanted to. He gave us nearly free reign and allowed us to come up with something awesome, and we hope that you guys enjoy it half as much as we do. To the owner of this truck, thank you, thank you, thank you. And everyone out there watching and giving us all the support over the years, we thank you guys too, and maybe you'll be the next one to come see us at Jack Wagon Overlanding. Thank y'all for watching.